All right, so I'm Lori. I look at trends all the time. I run the CES show floor tour program, and I do a number of different shows curating. So I'm always looking at trends, and one of the most exciting things about this show is that there are so many different trends that are bubbling up. And so what we're going to do today, this next half hour, is the most important half hour of your life, because we are literally going to connect the dots on all these amazing trends that are bubbling up at this show, and we're going to show you how this is going to explode into a connected fabric, and I'm really serious about that. So first, let's take a second to introduce our speakers. Sean?
Hi, I'm Sean Mann. I am a co-founder and CEO of a company called RP1. I'm also a board member at the Metaverse Standards Forum, and really appreciative to be here and have you guys join the talk.
Yep, hi everyone, thanks for coming. My name's Neil Trevett. My day job's at NVIDIA. I am also president of the Khronos group, but I'm here representing the Metaverse Standards Forum along with Sean. I'm the president of the forum. And yes, this is going to be the most important 30 minutes of our lives.
Right, right. And I feel that pressure right now. So we have like a physical AI, we have the glasses, we have everything spatial, we have Gaussian splats, we have photogrammetry, right? We have all these different things. But we're going to talk a little bit about the metaverse. Now, the metaverse as an expression has sort of had a little bit of a, right, like many of these trends. So why now? Why the metaverse now?
So the metaverse, you're right, has a bad name. We call it the M word, and some people burst out laughing.
I like this.
Yeah, very nice. Very graphic. So I think the metaverse took a kind of a wrong turn in how it was positioned and how it was explained. The VR vision of a number of connected worlds, and we're all going to be in VR for 16 hours a day. 16 hours a day disconnected from our family and friends. It was very dystopian, and I think society rightly rejected it. VR is awesome and has its place, but that's not it. Smart glasses, on the other hand, as many people have already said today, bring you into the world, and it's going to be the metaverse. Connected people in smart glasses accessing hundreds, if not thousands, of spatial services that surround them all day, every day. And the cool thing is AI, and the AI, embodied AI, and the users wearing smart glasses, they both need these spatial services. And the only platform to get it out there at scale, globally, is the web. And that's why we're here.
I think it's important when you think about the term metaverse is to look back in history. And if you think about before we had the World Wide Web, we had companies like AOL, and they did a great service. They taught the world on how to use the internet, but it limited the growth and the ability for everyone to participate. And when someone invented a web browser, it ignited the world to build together what has connected all of us, whether it's work or play or commerce. And so if we look at the term metaverse, I think it's the original dream of the metaverse was to be able to bring people together as close to reality as possible. So it's not just being stuck in virtual spaces, but be able to join someone in the real world when I can't be there and still feel like I'm literally in that space. And as I walk around, not only connect with people, but help me with that physical environment. And I think that's the grand vision that we all dream about. But we're right now in a very fragmented space right now in the XR industry. If you think about all the AR glass manufacturers, they're all building AR glasses, but they're going to have a closed software ecosystem. And so could you imagine cell phones that if only you had an iPhone, you can only call other people with iPhones, or if you had Android, you can only call people. You need standards and systems that put people to build together so that the entire world could be connected. And I think that's what the metaverse vision is and why we're all here for.
So it's interoperability, basically. And so why browser? I mean, we kind of already have a browser, whether you're Chrome or Safari or whatever. So why are we playing there?
So the web is a platform where there are no gatekeepers, and it's totally open standards based. So there's no one company that can pull the plug. And I know that there are many content creators here that have suffered through many cycles of that. But we're not recreating the whole browser. I mean, the Chrome browser, for example, there's thousands of man years invested. That would be crazy to try to do that. We just need to upgrade one small piece of the browser, and that's the browser engine. The Chrome browser, for example, has the Blink browser engine, the rendering engine. It does all the CSS, the HTML. It puts together your 2D content that gets presented. All we need is a 3D spatial web browser We can plug into the existing web infrastructure, but actually create a native browser that understands 3D. And we don't have that. And a good question is, well, WebXR. Now, WebXR is awesome, but it's not that. It's just a way for JavaScript to get input and to drive out to an XR device. You've left the JavaScript programming community to do everything else, the runtime loop, how you compose the scene, everything to do with an application. That's actually not the web way to do it. The web is declarative. You don't describe how you're going to draw all the 2D graphics on your web page. You just say, this is the graphics I want on my web page, and the web browser and the web browser, using the web browser engine, will put it together for you. And that's what we're proposing with the web browser engine. You describe the scene, and all of the networking, all of the runtime loops, everything that you need for actually to happen, happens in the browser. So we're simplifying and making it much more pervasively available as a platform.
Totally agree. And I think to take it a step further, if we look at the current web browser, it's actually funny. I met with someone from a Fortune 50 company, and he's the head of XR, and his job is to bring in spatial services into the entire operations of that organization. And I'm going to try to quote him, but it was really, really simple. He said, you need to separate the device from the software, and then separate the software from the data. They need to be able to own their data. And what I just described is the web. But we have a future with AR glasses where we need to be able to browse as we walk around, whether I'm walking into a Walmart, into an airport as an employee or as a consumer, as I walk around the environment around us. You have world models being built, you're having digital twins, and you need the ability for every single person to have ownership just like they do their website. And I agree with Neil, WebXR had a place in making the web more 3D. But the challenge is you don't get 3D browsing. That's the key. When I think of WebXR, you are stuck still within the window of that organization. But the way AR glasses are going to work is I'm going to roam around the world and connect to many different spatial fabrics. And it's going to connect me to these services that Neil was mentioning. And those types of things were not inherently built into the web stack. And so if we can build a simple engine that can be integrated into web browsers and to standalone Metaverse browsers, it instantly allows all these devices to be connected. And guess what? We can all now build together. We're not stuck in any type of platform where we can't build tools or we're stuck with the type of rules and things that are in there. It is as free as how the web works today.
God, I love that because I'm almost seeing the floor downstairs right now all be connected, as opposed to here's the glasses area and here's the physical AI area, here's that. So if I'm a brand, an enterprise, and enterprise is a category here at the show, but really that's where the money is being made right now in this space. What does this mean for me as a brand, as a business?
So I think Sean has been talking to many enterprises, and I've been talking to folks too, and I agree with Sean that the demand is pent up from particularly for companies, enterprises who want to deploy spatial services. The hardware is beginning to come together. We've all been here as a community for over 10 years. People are beginning to get the value of spatial services, but there's no way for them to deploy it right now because they want to deploy their spatial content in a way that is easy and non-gatekeeper as the current 2D web. They want to host their spatial content on any server that they want without asking permission from any third-party company, without showing all of their data to a third-party company, and it's simply not possible. And you might, again, ask a great question, well, what about WebXR? Well, you could use WebXR to come up with kind of a small mini data aggregator perhaps in your own company, but it's not, as Sean said, it's not built into the browser itself. And certainly if you go outside your own company, if you try to do something like this with WebXR, you're going to end up exposing all of your data to whoever wrote that WebXR application. We need to build into the browser itself the ability to discover, link to, and compose into a single 3D composed scene that surrounds the user services from multiple companies. And it just doesn't exist right now. And that's why I think a lot of the momentum isn't taking off. I think if we can build this into the web, we're going to open the floodgates to the whole world generating spatial content.
Did you want to add to that?
Yep. What's amazing on how much we've learned in building this is when you meet with the enterprises and the people that are in charge of bringing these systems to the entire operation of companies, the challenges start sounding similar. You have to be able to own your data, but I can't build a system that has a massive amount of friction. And if you think about AR glasses, if I'm going to walk down the street, I can't download an app every 3 to 5 feet that I walk. We're replicating really what the mobile cell phone ecosystem looks like, but that's not going to inherently remove the friction for AR glasses. It makes sense when you have only a couple of apps, whether it's translation, whether it's singular things that I can do right now. But the full vision of true AR glasses is the ability to enhance my work environment or my social environment where I can walk around and seamlessly connect to these different services. And you need something that makes it very simplified. Because the last thing you're going to do, and I'm sure everyone in this room that's been a part of a lot of the devices, it's like, well, I have this one device. And then you have a HoloLens moment where I spend a lot of money and research and time into a walled garden system and a platform. And once that's taken away from me, I no longer can run my operations. And imagine a hospital or an airport having that problem. Imagine taking away running the entire airport with spatial data and the device is taken away. Are they going to shut down the airport? So you need something that continues to live no matter what device is operating. That's the only way enterprises can adopt these types of technologies.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you, because I don't know how many of you have had your heart broken where you've spent money on developing something and then that company goes out of business, right? That's kind of what we're talking about, right? Or how many of you have just had your heart broken? I was just curious. But I know there are some non-negotiables here for businesses. Can you share with us how this is going to work? You know, what are those things that we all need to do this?
Well, we call it the 5 non-negotiables, but the most important thing is you have to own your data. It's quite simple. I can't put, if I'm a hospital, my data can't sit inside of another company's ecosystem. I have to own my data. I have to own my digital twin, my world models. Everything that I build and run my operations has to sit on my servers in my choice. That's number one. I think you also have to remove the friction from building the content. Right now, you build in all these different ecosystems, but they don't work across all devices. And what's amazing about the browser, and if you think about the web, you don't have to worry about how it renders. You don't have to worry about what the backend engine is. You build the web pages, and the job of the browser is to take care of all that for you. And so when you're building digital twins, you need the ability for an engine that simplifies and brings the industry together in a single system on how it renders. And so it really simplifies how do you build digital twins. It enables all the developers to build towards those standards. And now you have an ecosystem that resembles the web ecosystem for spatial experiences.
So, okay, so just speaking from the little guy, I've built my website. I've done all this work. I've spent all this money. Am I going to have to start from scratch like Neil? Am I just throwing everything out that I've already done?
No, and that's a good question. So none of what's in the current web disappears. Everything remains, of course, because the browsers can have multiple engines. We're not replacing the 2D engine. We're augmenting the browser with an additional 3D spatial engine. So everything will continue to work. You can incrementally, once you have the Metaverse browser engine in your browser of choice, you can begin to add spatial content in addition. And how do you switch between them? Well, the simpler way in the current browser architecture, you just kind of go to one or the other. But that's kind of boring. It becomes more interesting when you say, well, let's take the output from the 2D Metaverse, the 2D browser engine, and feed it as an input to the Metaverse browser engine. So you can take any web page, any construct that a 2D browser engine can render, bring it in as a totally general purpose texture, essentially, into the 3D engine. So you can begin to compose multiple 2D services and graphics into a 3D space with total generality.
And is this, Sean, because I know I met with you last year, this is kind of where you're coming into the picture, right? Where RP1 is. Can you tell us what you do? Because you kind of blew me away last year when you explained all this to me. And it takes a lot to blow me away.
Well, I get to wear 2 hats. I get to wear my standards hat. So if you asked me 2 years, I was going to be wearing a standards hat, I would have laughed. And now I'm very fortunate to really help bring an industry together with needed technologies that we can all share. And so with that hat, we are constructing, obviously the Open Metaverse Browser Engine within the Metaverse Standards Forum. If I throw my RP1 hat, we're actually building the very first native Metaverse standalone browser using that open engine. And this is really important because it shows the world how to use these technologies and start incorporating it. But our vision is not to be the only browser. The purpose of building under the Metaverse Standards Forum and building an engine that's open source is just like with the current devices. They use Chromium and Blink. They put the MetaQuest browser name on it, and they now have a browser that works within their device. We're making it simple for every AR glass manufacturer to take this open engine, incorporate it into their plans. So now they have a massive open software ecosystem without having to spend billions of dollars building a standalone walled garden software and device ecosystem.
I love that. So how do developers play? Like, what's their next step?
So, as Sean mentioned, we're hosting this project, and a big shout out to RP1 because they're putting a lot of effort, and they have a number. I call it the 4 good ideas. They have 4 really good ideas that are really enabling this, and we don't have time to go into it here, but I encourage you to take a look, and because it all kind of hangs together. But we're hosting this at the Metaverse Standards Forum. The point and the whole purpose of the Metaverse Standards Forum was the realization that to build the Metaverse, which is, I think, going to be the spatial evolution of the web, it has to be based on open standards. As we've discussed, no one can take open standards away. It gives you interoperability of the content. It's not just one standards organization. I'm glad to say that the project uses some of the Khronos standards, which is great, because Khronos has been building these pieces for 25 years. Now we're finally seeing it come together as
just tell everyone who Khronos is, too.
Oh, Khronos is an open standards organization. It does things like GLTF, WebGL, Vulkan, OpenXR, those kinds of standards. So they're kind of needed in this architecture. But there's dozens of other standards organized. W3C, of course. This is the web we're talking about. Open Geospatial Consortium for the geolocation, the visual positioning, all that stuff. The Metaverse Standards Forum was created because there was no place for all of those standards organizations to come and actually cooperate. And this project, I think, is going to tangibilize the mission of the Metaverse Standards Forum. So the way we've structured it is, firstly, it's an open source project, which we've uploaded this week. So you can go check out the source. And anyone can come and participate. It's a classically organized open source project. Apache 2, anyone can contribute. You don't need to be a member of the Metaverse Standards Forum. Come and have at it. But then we have the forum, and we have a series of working groups in the forum to address some of the key domains, and including some of the really interesting and difficult problems, like identity and security, and how are we going to do geo-positioning in a cross-platform standardized way? Avatars, how are we going to create a standard avatar? All these different solutions are being worked on in the working groups that are going to feed into this project, the Open Metaverse Browser Initiative, and also act as a test bed. So those working groups and the standards organizations can use this as a test bed to actually test out their standards. Are they actually delivering? Are there gaps that we need to fill? So this is, the metaverse can be awesome if we build it all together.
And I know you guys had a big announcement that you were just mentioning. Can you just lay out for everyone what that announcement was in a little more detail?
Yep. Well, just piggybacking with Neil, we launched OMBI under the Metaverse Standards Forum that's going to house Sneeze. It's a funny name. It's a play on Blink, which is an open engine in Chrome. And so Blink, Sneeze. The good thing is the public doesn't even know what Blink and WebKit is under Safari. So I'm assuming Sneeze will eventually disappear, or
somebody will take a pill for that.
Someone will take a pill for it. But it was a catchy term more for the engineers and the people that get the humor behind this. But we are also creating a native metaverse browser, again, that will use that. But from a developer standpoint, what I'm excited about is the world can actually start building this. Think about when the first web browser was built. Someone said a lot of people are going to need tools to build websites. And no one had to give permission to someone to build WordPress or Squarespace or Wix or Canva or this entire ecosystem that we've shared and used for a very, very long time. This unlocks the ability for everyone to start building the tools and things that people will think. It's going to be a truly open ecosystem, and the demand for these technologies is going to rise so quickly because enterprises can jump in and start building, which means all the builders, all the people that are going to have to educate them on the new standards, how they're going to use these technologies. The opportunity is ginormous. It is no longer what we call it, prototype, hell, where we're just keeping doing prototypes or training, apps. Right. We actually have the ability to move from web infrastructure to spatial infrastructure. And I think this is going to bring the entire XR industry together so we can win together. And I think that's what the web browser did today. And I believe what a Metaverse browser will do for the Metaverse.
Is that not cool? Didn't I tell you this is cool? Let's have a hand for that. That's so cool. So, and I know universities have already jumped in. Can you tell us about that?
We've been very fortunate. We have Barry Silverstein at the University of Rochester. He was 9 years at Meta working under Boz, and we met, and he decided to open up one of the largest labs in the country. And he did a lot of research. He looked at the architectural documents, understood what we're doing under the Metaverse Standards Forum, and his response was, this is what has to happen for the industry. If it doesn't happen, people are going to not adopt these technologies. If you don't remove the friction, you don't open an ecosystem that rivals the web, we can't win together. And his first reaction was, I want to build the first academic alliance. So we're actually announcing today the Open Metaverse Academic Alliance for all universities all over the world that will be chaired by the University of Rochester. And this is...
Yeah, give a big hand for that.
Yeah, this is a big deal because if you think about when the web browser was introduced, it was the universities and the education system that not only helped build the standards, they did the research, they worked with the enterprises, they did the prototyping to bring it into real world applications. And we have to unite together. We have to look at the flaws, we have to look at the problems, and we have to build together. And that's why it's really important to build under the Metaverse Standards Forum so we can get input not only from the SDOs, but from anyone that wants to bring pieces to the architecture that knows that we need to solve for this all to come together for each other.
I mean, I love sitting here talking to you guys because it's just goodness, and there's so much not goodness right now. It's so great. How many of you want to jump into this right now? Just raise your hand for all the various things that you're doing. So how are these guys going to do it? Like, what should they do? Should they come to your booth and harass you? Like, what do they do?
Come to the booth. So RP1 has a booth. Your booth number is?
928.
Thank you. And of course, you can join the forum. It's easy. The entry level is free. There's no NDA. Everything is open. So go to metaversestandards.org and join up. We'd love to have you there.
Yep. And if you're an AR glass manufacturer, you can literally go to omb.wiki. All the information is going to be there. You're allowed to download the open source code and start seeing how this implements within your AR glasses. If you're a developer, you literally can start building tools today. We have third-party companies that have already come in, see the light, and are building tools that instantly can deploy things to spatial fabrics in literally minutes. We're talking about an entire airport at DFW within minutes that's fully 3D that you can put on your own spatial fabric on your own hardware. This literally is removing the entire friction and fragmentation in the industry, making it easy for people to start building. So this is your opportunity to become the WordPress, to build the avatar systems, to start building all the components, because everyone can actually do this together. You should not wait for this to be done under one corporation or one industry. Everyone's going to participate, but this is the same exact opportunity when the web was built, that everyone can actually have a piece of it and bring it to the market.
And so you're not going to, these folks aren't going to put everything and all into this thing, and then it's just going to go away when you run out of money. Right.
Well, that's why it needs to be under a standards organization.
Right.
And that's the importance where it does not go away. And the cool thing is there will be one browser to start, which is what we're building. But our goal, and we're here today to actually have an olive branch with all web browsers to incorporate this new engine, because it's necessary for this industry to see the bigger picture. And you're seeing it. You're seeing the world models. You're seeing the digital twins. You're seeing robotics and AI. The power of the future is how these technologies implement the physical world. And the way to do that is through a Metaverse browser.
Oh my God, let's have a big hand for that. Wait, Neil, did you want to say one?
Well, I was just going to say, and this is just the first Metaverse browser engine.
Right.
The RP1 are putting the effort into building the first engine, but the whole point is it's all based on open standards. So we hope there's going to be multiple engines down the line too. There's nothing that's hidden from anyone.
So everyone here can have a role in this. This is not, just if you're very rich right now and you can do something. Everyone, if you made your first trillion, air, whatever. I don't know. Sorry, I'm bitter. Anyway, let's have the a big hand for these guys, and please stop by the booth. What they're talking about is amazing. And it really is about, the web wasn't built in a day, but it was built by lots of folks all pulling together to create something that had ubiquity. And that's really what we're talking about, which is so exciting because we've all had our hearts broken, right, on building things, and then, the device goes away. Yes, I've had my heart broken many times. I know you were looking at me, wondering. But but that's great. Let's have a big hand for these guys. And please stop by RP1. Come talk to Neil. There'll be more information about this. Lots of press on this now. Yes. And you can dig in and be one of those folks that joins this great escapade, right? Yes. Thanks, everybody. Let's have a hand for these guys.
Thank you, Laurie.
Yeah, and thank you to Laurie, please. She did a great job. Thank you so much.